Really, when you need to meet expectations is next week. The second special session of the Alabama legislature will reconvene down there in Montgomery. What can we expect? I mean, have we gotten to the point now, Ed, where we've got taxes out of the way, and maybe we're actually going to talk about making some cuts and reforms, or what's going on?
I wish I could guarantee your listening audience that taxes were off the table, that we had successfully beat the tax pushback. But, there's a number of us that have laid our lives on the line politically to stop taxes in the state of Alabama. And we've done it for two sessions now. But I do feel like the tide is starting to turn on us, and the sentiment, they just keep coming back, and there's only so many of us that we can keep putting ourselves out there. I think they're probably going to beat us this time. I hate to say that. I'm not saying we're giving up. We're going to war. We're going to fight. We're going to do everything we can to stop it. I feel like there are too many people in office right now that have succumbed to this idea that the government needs more of your tax dollars, of your hard-earned income. They need more tax dollars. It's frustrating. I'll be honest with you.
Well, what taxes are back on the table? I'll just tell you what I'm hearing. You can tell me if I'm close in the ballpark. I'm hearing that the tobacco tax is rearing its ugly head again. I'm hearing that you're probably going to get a business privilege tax increase of some kind, and it may just be on so-called large businesses or just whatever that means. I don't know what the threshold is going to be there. And then I've heard the third would be I think you would call it like the Medicaid provider tax is basically be on nursing homes and others like that. Is that what you're?
Those are what we're hearing. I've seen nothing. Those are what we're hearing. And to me, the tobacco tax probably aggravates me more than any of them, because you'll hear so many people say, well, I can live with a tobacco tax because I don't smoke, or smoking's bad, or blah, 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 whatever it is. It's a freaking gateway tax. It's that's the way government increases tax revenue, is they segregate society. So today we're going to tax smokers. Next year we're going to tax alcohol drinkers. Next year we're going to tax you if you do something, some small segment, we will tax you. It'll be doctors, This year we're going after pharmacies and nursing homes. Next year we're going to go after doctors. Year after that we're going to go after construction workers. But you never do a broad-based tax, because the people don't like that and they would vote you out of office. So you segregate and know what you can win. I've told my colleagues, if you really feel like we need more revenue, raise the sales tax in Alabama 1%.
Yeah.
It raises more than enough money. It affects every single person that lives here, does business here, whether they're a working, to make a living or living off the system. They're going to buy stuff and they're going to pay into that tax.
Yep.
If you really need money, do a sales tax.
Because they'll never do it.
Guess what? We don't really need money that bad.
Yeah, miraculously, suddenly we don't need money that bad, because you're right. Whether it's a soda tax or a tobacco tax, or just you go down the list of all these taxes, it's just a way for liberal politicians to prop up big government instead of implementing reform. I mean, that is the bottom line.
Exactly, and I will say this: there is the sentiment has changed from the regular session, where there was no reform on the table, just taxes, to the first special session where there was a tiny bit of reform talked about, but mainly for show and taxes and gambling, to the second session. We're looking like the majority of the session is going to be reform, with a little bit of taxes being pushed, and possibly a lottery vote, something like that. So the sentiment has shifted, and I think it helps our cause that the governor has taken yet another blow. Or maybe I shouldn't use that word, but has done something, and is whatever his power has been diminished in the state, and he's the main one pushing for taxes.
Well, let's talk about that since you bring it up. What is well, number one, what is your take on just all of the I guess scandalous, salacious. I don't even call them rumors because I think there's some there to some of this stuff. But
it kills me. It's bad for our state image. You know, we're double down here in Hartselle where I live. Our mayor was, just caught up in some of that stuff with the Ashley Mathis.
Yeah, Ashley Madison. Yeah, that's right. Quit acting like you didn't go to that side, Ed. Go ahead.
I never did. So he's caught up in that. So we've lost our mayor. Our governor seems to be caught up in something. The rumor mill's been kicking around for a year or better. And to me, it plays poorly on our state. I'm getting emails from people that quoting Section 173 of the Constitution. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It's the impeachment process for the governor, and it's pretty simple. It just requires that the governor has failed in some duty or has had a moral turpitude. There's very easy things, and all it takes is a simple majority of the House of Representatives to call for an impeachment proceeding, and then the Senate presides as the court over the impeachment. Are these things that are being discussed right now? Like, not that y'all necessarily going to bring articles of impeachment when you come back, but do you think it's a real possibility that it escalates to that point? I tell you what's amazing is how many emails and text and various messages I have received just in the last 2 days calling for his head at some level or another. Now, I think a better mechanism that we need in Alabama is a recall, some sort of recall, because the problem with term limits is you get people like this who get elected to their second term, they have nothing to lose, and they renege on every promise they made, and they turn and they go a completely different direction, and they expose themselves for a completely different person than they presented on the campaign trail. The people of Alabama need some mechanism to recall those individuals, and I think there's some legislation that's going to be presented very soon to allow that.
Special session? During the special session?
I believe it will be introduced.
What about, I noticed one of your colleagues, State Representative Alan Farley, has called for the Attorney General to get engaged in this and investigate whether or not the governor used state resources, whether it be the plane or a security deal or detail or whatever, to facilitate having an affair. Is that something that others are talking about? Is that something you think is appropriate at this time?
I think it's appropriate to identify that. The problem I would see with that is there's accusations on the Attorney General's side of mishandling relationships. I don't know if anybody, and I told a fella just a little bit ago at a meeting, if he was calling for the legislature to do all these things. I said, look, I don't know that you could get enough people to get involved, because there's probably plenty of people that have been involved in the same type of
don't throw a stone if you live in a glass house, basically.
Exactly. So,
well,
anyway,
whether it's that or the Speaker of the House is under indictment with 23-count indictment, or whether you've got now all this stuff that's surrounding Governor Bentley, even with just those two right there, you got arguably the two most powerful people in state government caught up in these different types of scandals, for lack of a better word. Has their ability to govern been compromised to the point that you think there should be some consideration on either front to stepping down?
I've only been in this whole thing 4 years, and in 4 years, this will be my 5th year. There is a very empty space for where our direction has been. We don't seem to have a direction.
So you said there's a leadership void there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's been interesting to watch over the past few years. You and I, it's kind of weird. Like, obviously, I'm not an elected official, but in a weird way, I kind of feel like you and I and some others kind of came up together, if you will, in this stuff because
we did. We grew up on all this together.
Yeah, because when that cycle was kind of when Yellowhammer first started. And
that's right.
So,
and you were getting started, and we had just got into office. Republicans took over. It was a new day, and we were doing some amazing things.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's why I was going to say, I think it's been interesting to watch your progression on just as an elected official, because I think in some ways it's similar to what my progression has been in the way that I talk about and cover these things. We cover these things at Yellowhammer. I talk about them on the air here because, everybody in politics, you always hear them say you choose sides, and it's all about personal stuff and, whatever. Really, it's never been about choosing sides on a personal level, like I like this guy or that gal or just whoever better than another. It's been about, when we look at back to when you guys first came into office, there were real reforms happening. There was good stuff taking place in the legislature. It was like I had nothing to complain about really for the most part because it was conservative things were happening.
Well, exactly.
And now I feel like now they think I'm mad at people down there when really it's just like, no, you stop reforming things. You stop being conservative. You started having all these scandals. And so I've progressed in the way that I talk about it. And I know I'm being long-winded here, Ed, but I want to give you some credit
right.
to you here.
Because what this is, so I'm in the same kind of boat where I've got a lot of people that I'm good friends with that we were all on the same page for 4 years. We were hammering away at changing state government. And now they're mad at me because I'm not on board, but I haven't changed my position.
Mm-hmm.
Just the direction that we decided to go changed, and I've stayed steadfast to where I came into office. And I ran on a principle that the government has enough of your hard-earned money, and it's big enough to do everything that it needs to do. And the only way you can stop government from growing is if you stop feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. It's not hard. They call me on, hey, can you vote for a provider tax because that's not going to be passed on? No, because I don't believe the government needs more of anybody's money, period.
Well, what do you think it is that changed, Ed? I mean, that's what I guess I'm left out here just like I don't even feel mad. Maybe I'm just talking too much here, but I don't even feel mad. I feel almost hurt by it, disappointed by it, and I don't understand what's changed.
This is what I see from just my vantage point is that certain of our members have taken on this mantle of responsibility for the government because they say, oh, we're in the majority now, and we are responsible for making this government work. Okay, we are responsible for making this government work. They are fearful of the bureaucracy, which is a beast, that if we cut them, the bureaucracy will hurt the very people we represent. Just like what Aaliyah is trying to do with closing driver's license offices if we don't give them that's extortion. If we don't give them what they want, they're going to hurt our citizens. And so you've got a number of great people that are reform-minded, but they are concerned about how the bureaucracy is going to hurt the very people they were sent down there to serve. And so they've taken this mantle of we have to do this because the converse, if we don't, what the bureaucracy is going to do to the people is going to be bad. And I get that, but what I say is let's take out the bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be if it takes massive reforms, then let's do massive reforms. And it may take a couple of years of heartache, but we can beat them. But I promise you, giving more money and doing what they want will never change anything.
State Representative Ed Henry. Ed, thanks for taking time to give us a shout today. We'll be watching closely as you guys reconvene down in Montgomery next week.
Thank you very much for having me. Keep up the good fight, brother.